Welcome to the show today. We have a special show that will be dealing with the spirit of prophecy. That is a very, very important subject when it comes to the Seventh Adventist Church. I have quite a number of people here who are going to be presenting about this spirit of prophecy, and one of them is Sister Galeniece. She's from the Adventist University of Africa. She will be talking to us about the spirit of prophecy and what it means in the Adventist Church. Welcome, Sister Anne.
Thank you so much.
The other one is Pastor Philip Guy, who is also coming to us from East Central African Division. He's heading a department of publishing, a very important department, but it also has a component of spirit of prophecy. And Pastor Guy is going to be with us in this show. Welcome, Pastor Guy.
Thank you so much.
Well, viewer, you have to know that the spirit of prophecy is a very important subject, as I said, for the Adventist Church. We have a prophet in this church. But then this prophet, whom we are talking about, what was the significance of her being in this church? Does she relate very closely with the prophets that we are mentioned in the Bible? What is the significance of us tackling this subject of the study of spirit of prophecy? We'll be seeing that in the series of 13 presentations in this whole program. And I want you to be with us as we continue in this very important subject. Now, before we go into the discussion in this, I want you to know that the Adventist Church existed or started about 150 years ago. This church did not start just like that. It had a basis of starting. And one of the foundations of this church is built on the spirit of prophecy. And we'll tackle that subject, we'll continue with it as we see what it unveils to us about what the church believes in and what the church stands for. Thank you very much for being with us. Pastor Guy, we are going to tackle these subjects in the whole 12 series. There is something that we are talking about, the prophets, biblical prophets. You know, I said earlier that we have a prophet in this church. I have not mentioned her name because she's a woman. But I'm saying, do you see any correlation between that lady, the prophet of this church, and the prophets that are mentioned in the Bible?
Thank you so much, Pastor Bina. Mm-hmm. The prophet that we have that you are talking about is actually Ellen G. White. Mm-hmm. There is indeed a lot of correlation between her and the other prophets that you find in the Bible, like Jeremiah, Elijah, Ezekiel, Anna, Deborah, all these prophets and prophetesses that are mentioned in the scripture. The most important thing is that all these people received messages from God, and they conveyed the messages of God to God's people at their different times. And that's what we find in the earlier prophets, and that's what we find in the prophet that we are talking about, Ellen G. White, who received messages from God and conveyed the messages of God to the people in her time, and they're relevant even during our time.
Pastor Guy, you are telling us that they had specific message at specific times when God called these prophets at their own time.
Yes.
That is very important for us to understand. Viewer, listen to that. They had a specific message from God and at a specific time in order to convey the message of God to the people that they were serving. We are continuing this series and we'll continue them. There are things that deal with the prophets specifically. These things are very important for us to understand. How do you come to know the prophet, the real prophet? What are some of the things that we understand about these prophets? Are they special people? Are they unique from other people? Sister Galeniece, can you say a little bit about that? Because this is a very important thing to understand as we continue with this.
That's true. That's true. Thank you. Some people understand that a prophet must be above other people around him or her. They're supposed to be very special, holy people, not touched, by others. But when we read the Bible, as Pastor Guy mentioned, the names of those prophets, those were simple people. Amos, he was a shepherd.
That's right.
Some of them were, yes, in a high position, some were in a low position, old and young. They were human beings with all their weaknesses. However, when God picks someone,
That's right.
it doesn't matter how weak and miserable that person may be. When that person relies upon God, trusts God, fulfills God's purpose, God does a miracle. Miracle or even miracles in the life of that person. That person, what he or she cannot do by themselves, God does through them. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're most holier than others.
Wonderful. That's a good observation and explanation. Viewer, there is something you have to note here, that these prophets came with gifts. God gave them some inspiration and a gift that they used to convey the message to the people. You listen to what Sister Anna Galeniece told us. Those gifts are what God uses for conveying the message to the people that he wants to reach. But there's something else, that those people whom he called, they were persons, as you have heard, just like anybody else. And that's why today the Adventist Church has a prophet by the name of Ellen G. White. Ellen Gould White. She was called like anybody else, and she was feeble. But God used her in a special way. In her own weaknesses, she just presented the message that God gave to her in a unique way, not just like anything else, but God chose her and gave her that message for a specific purpose. But this lady, Ellen G. White, that we're talking about, she had some kind of gift that God gave her in those messages that he gave her. You know, in these days we have counselors, we have speakers. Pastor Guy, can you tell us something about what she did, maybe briefly, what she did when she was called to this, to deliver these messages?
Well, like any other person who was called to the prophetic office, they usually have two possible roles, identified as foretelling and forthtelling. Foretelling refers to telling something that is going to happen for some time in the future, and forthtelling is giving a forthright message from the Lord. Ellen White is recognized as someone who was endowed by the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and she could be able to tell things that would happen in the future many years before they happened, and it was actually confirmed when they happened that this is what God revealed to Ellen White some years back. She was also able to give authentic messages from the Lord, and that is forthtelling. Messages cover a wide range of issues on health, on education, on institutions like publishing, several issues that she took care of that cut across. And this is something that we just recognize that it was a gift that came from God.
That's wonderful. Good explanation, Pastor Guy. Viewer, we still have time, and these are some of the things that you will hear from the presentations that are going to be given in this series. Don't go away, stay with us, because we still have some more to go with you. Dear viewer, welcome again to the show. You have heard what we were talking about previously before we went to the break. But we are still following on this subject of the spirit of prophecy. One thing we know about the spirit of prophecy is that Ellen G. White, the person that we have talked about, she was gifted with writing and also with interpreting these visions that she got, which we're going to talk about later in our discussion here. But the writing that she was doing was very important for the church and for those people who were found in these last days. We want to understand a little bit about this writing. Pastor Guy, the writings of Ellen G. White, do you think they have any relevance with us these days?
Yes, the writings of Ellen G. White have been relevant and still are relevant from the time when she wrote them up until this time. She wrote on many subjects that are pertinent. Take her book like Steps to Christ. It's a masterpiece. It's a classic book on any person who wants to have a close relationship, a close walk with the Lord.
Precisely.
A book like Desire of Ages is a masterpiece talking about the life of Jesus Christ and how someone can have a closer walk with God. Talk about a book like The Great Controversy, which contains historical issues of the past, the present, and takes us into the future. She left behind about 40 books, thousands of manuscripts, and some compilations that have now been made in numerous books and have been translated into many languages, over 140 languages around the world.
Wow.
And so,
It's a lot.
on issues of health, you find some things valuable. A book like Education has been taken by many governments to guide their ministry of education in form of setting principles that should guide the education systems in many governments around the world. So in terms of her writing, they have been relevant and they are still relevant to us and even to future generations.
Thank you very much, Pastor Guy, for saying that. In fact, you have reminded me. There was one time when I was a young boy, I was in primary school, and the president of Tanzania, the country I come from, came to visit our school. And my father was the publishing director and education director in the church. And what happened when President Julius Nyerere came to visit our place? They thought about the gift which they should give this very special guest from the government. And they thought about it. They said, we'll give him the Spirit of Prophecy books, the 9 volumes of the testimonies to the churches. You know, in those volumes, there are a lot of things, and they included also the education volume, the book education volume. They gave to the president. You know, it is surprising that some of the things that he took for himself to do originated from those books.
Sure.
So what you said is very important. Viewer, you have to note that these writings are relevant to us today, just like they were when they were written by Ellen G. White. And Pastor Guy has emphasized to us that they have been used by governments and intellectuals and scientists in developing their findings and promoting development in their respective areas of expertise. We are continuing with this introduction because it's very important for us. But you know, the writings were prophetic writings. They needed some interpretations. And the interpretations, you have to have some principles. Sister Galeniece, briefly, you don't have to go to details because we'll know about this. What kind of principles that we're talking about? Are they 1, 2, 3, or whatever? You will tell us.
Thank you so much for this question. Yes. You see, when we take a book, we may read this book from A to Z, from the beginning to the end, and just enjoy it. But when we take a Bible, we need some kind of principles to understand the scriptures. Otherwise, how to understand? We may find even some confusing statements.
Correct.
But actually, the Bible reveals itself. So it's the same with the Spirit of Prophecy books. There is a need of interpretation.
That's right.
How to understand. For example, those may be some of the issues that many people are confused reading Ellen G. White books.
Correct.
On the lifestyle issues, adornment, or even church situations, or even how the prayer posture, all these things people understand differently. And because they just take one statement and make their conclusions out of this one statement.
Wow.
So reading Ellen G. White, and actually we will be talking about this later on in our series, but let me just briefly mention that it is important if you choose just one topic, let's say salvation,
Correct, yes.
or the sanctuary, or the 144,000, it doesn't matter what kind of subject. Try to read extensively everything what she wrote on this subject, not taking a sentence out of the context. Also, it is advisable to see the time, place, and circumstances under which this or that statement was written. The same as we read the Bible. We need to understand the time, place, and circumstances. And third principle that will be discussed is the principle actually to understand what did she mean all again. What is the principle behind the principle?
Precisely.
Or what is its application? Because a principle does not change with place or time. It's like eternal. The 10 Commandments are God's principles, period. But the application to those principles may change. For example, if you drive in a car, you're behind the wheel, and you see another car straight at you, driving straight at you, would you close your eyes and bend your knees to pray?
No, you don't.
Better not. Better say, like Peter said, Lord, save me, and try to maneuver your car, not to hit. So this is an application to the principle. So whenever we read Ellen G. White writings, we need to understand what did she try to say to the people, the original people, and to us who live much later in a different continent.
That's a wonderful explanation, Sister Anna Galeniece. Viewer, when we go into the series, you have to follow closely because there will be details that will show you these principles. You don't have to misinterpret what is clear. Read with carefulness, and that is what we are told here. It's very, very important. But there is something else that we'll follow later with, because when we talk about the principles are very important in everything that you do. Reading the Bible, or writing, or interpreting any interpretation of any book that you're reading, it's very, very important for you and for me to know exactly what to do and how to do it. That way, we will stay focused, we will stay directed, and we will not lose our focus, just like the examples we have been given. We will continue with the presentation again. Don't go away, because we still have something else to give you after the break. Thank you. Once again, welcome to our show. We appreciate to have you as you continue to follow up on what we're going to have a series of spiritual prophecy. Now, you see, we have talked about the principles, we have talked about the writings. It's very important also to understand that this spiritual prophecy has an impact in the publishing work in the Adventist Church. We have a lot of books that are written in the background of the spiritual prophecy. It's very important for you to understand. We have a person who is dealing with that section in our church, especially in East Central Africa Division. Pastor Guy, what could you say about the publishing work? I understand there's a lot that we have that goes into publishing through the spiritual prophecy. Can you say something about it?
You know, actually, publishing ministry of this church came as a result of spiritual prophecy.
All right.
This was a revelation that God gave to Ellen White way back in 1848.
Okay.
before even the Seventh-day Adventist Church was organized. She gave her a vision, and the vision was meant for the husband, James White. And she told the husband, you must begin to print a little paper and send it out to the people. It will be small at first, but after you send it to the people, they will read and give you the means. And it was revealed to her that it will be like streams of light that would go around the whole globe. As a result of this vision, the publishing work was developed, and today it's an arm of the gospel that spreads the message through printed pages.
That's a wonderful explanation that I can ever even think of. But there is something else that we want to know about, because this will be a series that will be presenting different kind of areas of spiritual prophecy. But there is a health reform, there's education. Mrs. Galeniece, what could you tell us about this? Because this spiritual prophecy talks about reformation, kind of reformation, health reformation, or whatever, you know what it is. But what could you say about it, the reformation on health, but also about education?
Okay, thank you so much.
Briefly.
You know, our God is God of love.
That's right.
And because he loves us, indefinitely of our circumstances, he is reaching down to us, and he wants to lift us up from where we are to where he is. And for this reason, he gives to us such important topics as health message, health reform. I want you to be healthy. I want you to live longer and enjoy life. Because I'm God of love, and I want that you would love me back. The same as with education. If you will get to know me better, you'll get to know science that I created. You will know the earth that I created. You'll know all these things. It will benefit you. And your life again will be easier, because God is God of love. And I think these issues on education, family, marriage, health, or whatever topic we take, it's under the umbrella, God is love.
That's wonderful explanation about the health reform and education. The Adventist Church has a lot of wealth of writings and information about this. But there is something else that we want to know. After all these presentations have been made and everything has been said, is there any way we can find a place to put our hands on the books or anything that can help us to understand more about this spiritual prophecy? Pastor Guy, tell us a little bit. How can we get a hold of this very valuable information?
Yes, Ellen White has actually given us a blueprint on a program that we run to make these books available. We have several methods. We have centers that are known as Adventist book centers that are scattered across our entire territory. In East Central Africa Division, which is the region that covers Eastern Central Africa, we have these countries like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, DRC. We have several Adventist book centers in major towns. And if you walk into any of these Adventist book center, you'll be able to get yourself a copy of some of these books of spiritual prophecy. Now, apart from that, we have home health education service offices. These home health education service offices coordinate literature evangelists. And these literature evangelists are able to visit with us, knocking on our doors, bringing to us these precious messages in these books. They can come to our offices, they can come to our shops, they can come to our, any place of work, any place of abode, and they'll be able to deliver for us these precious books at our convenience. Those are some of the methods that we make these books available. But apart from that, we can be able to download some of these books from the website. Yeah, you can go to the Ellen G. White estate and you download any book from Ellen G. White and you are able to read and understand. Interestingly enough, The media has also made our work so easy.
Precisely.
Some of these books have been, narrated. Someone has actually read them. So we can download audio books
That's right.
and listen to the message from a book like Steps to Christ, Desire of Ages, Great Controversy. So we can get even audio versions of these books, and they're available over the internet.
Thank you very much, Pastor Guy, for that valuable information. Sister Galeniece, these presentations are going to be 13 presentations. How are they going to present it? Who is going to do this for us? Can you just give us a brief introduction?
Sure, thank you. The idea to start these presentations started or developed right after one of the courses at Adventist University of Africa. The course that was named Ellen G. White Writings, Life and Writings, Life, Ministry and Writings.
Correct, yes.
And there were a number of students who took this course. And they got so much excited to share this information with others. So these will be the people who will be presenting these messages to our viewers, the pastors who finished this course. And of course, not all of them were able to come to the studio and present, but the majority of them, the viewers will get to know personally through, they will be on your TV. And let me just mention, or more precisely to add what Pastor Guy said,
Yes.
there are also some centers, not as only as Adventist book centers, but some centers where people can go and get information.
Right, yes.
And these centers are located at the major universities, Seventh-day Adventist universities across this continent.
Correct.
And they can go, for example, to University of Eastern Africa, Baraton.
Yes.
And there is a research center, and they can always go there, even to their website, and ask questions. There is also the same university, similar